Wow, I've chopped off the top of my head, haven't I? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would try filming in like our living space. There's just a bit more going on here, you know, I have my cheese plants, my other plant collection. There's a bit more light because the window's bigger, and yeah, I just thought I'd film in here and see how it goes. So, and today I've got for you my top 10 favourite eyeshadow palettes. So I am a massive eyeshadow palette hoarder. I love them. They're like my favourite things. There's obviously loads more eyeshadow palettes in here that I do use quite a lot, but I thought I'd pick out my top 10. So 10 eyeshadow palettes that I love, that some of them are quite new, some of them are like old, hard-hitting favourites that I've had for millions of years. Millions being an exaggeration, but you get the idea. And then some of them being like relatively new in my collection in the last couple of months. If I drop this, I think I will cry. So these are in no particular order because I'm not that organised and I didn't quite know how to categorise them because there are colours in here and nudes and just chaos. So I thought I'd just start from the top of the pile that I've made, work down to the bottom, and we'll call it a day like that. So the first palette I have here is my HUDA Warm Brown Obsessions palette. You'd have seen this in my 2020 favourites. This is the palette that I was stuck with for quite a few months of lockdown, and I've used this so much and I absolutely love it, and it's now part of my 2021 Project 10 pan. Absolutely love this palette. It's super compact, has 9 stunning shades in it, 8 of which are matte, and then there's this like gorgeous gold shimmer in the middle. Love this so much. The next one I picked up about October-ish last year, and this is the Tarte Toasted palette. I'd had my eyes on this for so many years. As you can probably gather quite quickly from the first 2 favourites, I am a warm toned neutral girl. Like, it's kind of my scene, it's kind of where I'm at. So a lot of these palettes follow that theme, but yes, I absolutely love this palette. It's got some beautiful mattes in it, some gorgeous shimmers, super pigmented, absolutely gorgeous, lovely packaging. I've wanted this palette for so long, and I picked it up in the Black Friday sales towards the end of the year, and it is beautiful. It's the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. I don't really feel like it's worth the stupid price tag that comes with these palettes. Like, some of these other palettes in here are a lot cheaper, or a lot cheaper per eyeshadow, and probably better quality, but it's just beautiful. And I love the packaging, I love how luxe it feels. The eyeshadows are gorgeous. There's a few glitters in here that can be a little bit chunky, but the mattes are stunning, and the like normal shimmers are really pretty, so love this. Now we head into old, battered, beaten, worn, years of favourites eyeshadow palettes, and this is the Zoeva Cocoa Blends. Zoeva is one of those brands that sort of fits in between drugstore prices and high-end prices. Like, it's fairly expensive. I think these palettes are like 15 or 17 pounds, so they're pricey-ish, but they're not like expensive. And this palette is beautiful. I have obviously massively hit pan on Substitute for Love, but I've also really not that far away from Pure Ganache, I think is what it says. It's kind of rubbed off because this palette is now really quite old. I also love Beans Are White for a kind of smoky eye look, and I just love this palette so much. Yeah, I actually don't have many other eyeshadow palettes from Zoeva. I have one of their like mini Matte Voyage palettes, which is like fine, but the colour selection here is not like a massive thing for me. This is one of those palettes I always forget I own. This is the Zoeva Nude Spectrum, which beautiful, but I don't know why. For one reason or another, I always forget I have this. Love this palette. We'll keep using it for probably many years. Another firm favourite, this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam. Mine is beaten and battered. I also have the Modern Renaissance, which is another like kind of favourite-ish, but this definitely got blown out of the water when I picked this one up, so it doesn't really get used as much, but like there's similar-ish colour stories. But yes, I love the Soft Glam palette. I've massively hit pan on Burnt Orange. I'm not far away from Glistening, and yeah, there's just some really beautiful colours in here. This is probably the newest favourite out of all of these, and this is the Vieve The Essential palette. Vieve being Jamie Genevieve's brand, and I love this so much. So this is a beautiful palette full of massive big pans of warm neutral shades, and it has the most beautiful mirror in the whole wide world, and I can't really describe why. It's like the crispest, clearest mirror ever. But also the eyeshadows are stunning. These are beautiful pigmented buttery shades, and the shimmers are equally stunning. I love using glimmer on my inner corner. Like, I quite often just reach for that shade at this palette, but I also love the rest of them. So a new addition, but one that I am deeply, deeply enjoying, and one that I can see being a favourite for a long, long time. Also part of my Project 10 pan, so trying to use, well, not use it all up because that would be insane, but like hit pan on some of them. This is probably the least known of all of these eyeshadow palettes that I have here, and this was sent to me by the brand, and I love this so much. So it's actually my most liked picture on Instagram, the picture of this palette, and the look that I did with it I think is one of my most liked looks. It's gorgeous, so I'm going to open it up because this shows you nothing. Most of these palettes have blog posts with them, so if I can find them, I'll link them down below. Yeah, this is, I think, the most read blog post on my blog for this year or something. I love this palette so, so much. It's got beautiful, beautiful green and yellow shades in here, and so the next sort of 3 palettes, or 4 including this one, have quite a lot of colour in them, and I've really got into colourful eyeshadows recently, and this just ticks the box for green and yellow. Like, it has some really nice browns in there, has a nice pop of red, but it's the greens and the yellows in here that I really, really, really love. Only downside I'd say is it's quite chunky packaging, but... So I actually bought this off a recommendation of Nikki Tutorials, and she raves about their eyeshadow formula all the time, and this is the Masquerade Mini by Juvia's Place. I'm not a massive blue person. I don't think actually it's the blues out of this palette that I tend to love, because I find blue looks a bit weird on me, but these shades here, they're like beautiful warm toned neutrals with a pop of purple, a pop of pink. Absolutely stunning, and these shadows are so darn pigmented. I don't know what they make these out of, but they are beautiful, beautiful shades, and I'd love to try some more from this brand because this is the only palette I have from them. And then the last 2 palettes I have to share with you are both from the same brand, and there's this weird thing about Morphe. I think I've actually decluttered the other palettes I used to own by them, but they're like non-collaborative palettes that they make themselves are a bit boring. I can't really describe why, but I've had a couple in the years and I've always passed them on. But their collab palettes are gorgeous, and I don't know what it is. One's been a firm favourite for years, one's a relatively new palette to me, and I think it only came out about a year ago, but 2 palettes that I absolutely love. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is the one that I've had for years, and this is the Jaclyn Hill palette. I love this. It's a beautiful palette of kind of my everyday eyeshadow look. I know it's got some like greens and blues here, but I don't really use them. It's kind of this bit. I mean, it probably could be smaller. There's quite a lot of shades in here that are either repeats or shades I don't really reach for very often, but I think this is beautiful, and I love some of these shimmery shades down here. And then the last favourite I've got to speak to you about, I mean, you already kind of know what it is, and this is the Morphe James Charles palette. And if you haven't seen this, 1, where have you been? And 2, the only way to make this fit in the frame is to like crop me out of it. This is beautiful. So when I really started to get into coloured eyeshadows, this was kind of the one that I knew I kind of needed to have. This is absolutely gorgeous. So you've got bigger pans down the middle here, which are kind of your more kind of neutral, everyday shades, and then you've got kind of pops of colour on the side. So this side is more kind of bright, and this side is more kind of stupidly warm neutrals. And yeah, I love this palette. I love how it feels. Don't know why, it just feels nice. And then it's not a favourite because it's messy and can be quite difficult to work with. But just in case you wondered, what's on my eyes at the moment is this from Barry M. It's the Analingus eyeshadow palette. I don't mind this. It's one of those eyeshadow formulas that just goes everywhere. Like, it's pigmented, blendable. It goes like on your nose, on your cheeks, over your desk. Like, I don't know what it is about it, but it just goes everywhere. But the shade I've got on right now is Lover, pretty much everywhere, and then a bit of Date on the outer corner. It's not a favourite. I will keep using it and I don't think I'm gonna like get rid of it anytime soon, but safe to say, I have loads of other eyeshadow palettes that like I use quite a lot. Like, you know, the Naked Urban Decay. I have the Violet Voss Pro palette, which is just beautiful. Who remembers MAC palettes? I obviously have a MAC palette because who doesn't? This is mine. This really does not get enough love considering it was like 90 quid. The Beauty Bay palettes are really, really lovely. I just haven't found one that I'm like obsessed with. Nip and Fab, do you remember when they launched a few years ago? This is the Fired Up palette. These were favourites for ages and they are still lovely palettes. I just don't randomly reach them as much. They're the Gosh palettes. So this is To Rock Down Under. And then this one is To Enjoy in New York. Here is the bigger Beauty Bay one. This I think is their old packaging, but yeah, it's a really, really nice eyeshadow palette. For some reason it just doesn't speak to me as much as some of my other ones, but the formula is lovely. What a bad boy. This is the Soph Revolution palette. I used to love this. I don't really reach for it as much, but it's still a great, great palette. I don't know what it is about NARS eyeshadows. I just don't reach for them that much, but this is the NARS Narcissist palette. Got an MUA palette. I think this is the only MUA thing I still own. Ooh. But beautiful. I think I might just go through the rest of my collection. My Urban Decay Born to Run. These two I mentioned earlier. This is the Zoeva Nude Spectrum and the Modern Renaissance palette. I've also got the Live to Drag palette from Luna Beauty. These are some really, really nice kind of bright pops. I just don't think you can do much with it on their own. Like you kind of need something else to mix in with it. This is quite new to me. It's the Zeo Essence of Nature palette number 1. Drop the brush. Got the little Zoeva matte palette I mentioned earlier. This is the Max Factor Nude palette in Rose Nudes. I used to love this. Wet n Wild, Rose in the Air, which is also a really, really nice neutral palette. Quite a good dupe for, I think it's Modern Renaissance, but yeah, beautiful, beautiful palette. Got a NYX Ultimate Edit palette, which for some reason I don't really remember anything about this, but My Little Tiny Max Factor Smoky Eye Drama Kit. This has got a big old dent in it. I used to use this a lot at uni, but I haven't really massively used it since. And then my e.l.f. Mad for Matte palette, which I really don't use, but you know, I've got pretty much every single e.l.f. whatchamacallits that are going. I seem to love these pods. I've got pretty much every single colour shade that you could ever want, but they're beautiful. Also got the Huda Beauty Topaz Obsessions palette, which I haven't actually used yet, but my last one is the NARS Isolde Duo. Now this is a throwback because this is actually in the old NARS packaging, but beautiful. And this somehow turned into me talking you through my collection, but yes, those are the other eyeshadow palettes I own, but the first 10 are my 10 top favourites. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, let me know if you want to see anything else from me, and I really hope you guys enjoyed viewing my top 10 that sort of evolved into just like looking through my collection. So I had to work out how to put this back in the drawer it came out of, but I really hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.